Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Project StarCraft coming at you with another casted game. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so hopefully I won't mess up too bad. On Shakuras Plateau, we have a Terran versus Zerg for you. Spawning in the bottom left-hand position, spawning in the red Terran trunks, we have killerKoala, which by the name alone, we're rooting for him. This game is also, he's also a Redditor. Yay! Spawning in the top right-hand position, in the blue trunks, our enemy, our bad guy, we have TDN's Hyperion. So Shakuras Plateau has been with us for quite a while. Nothing really too much to say, but the standard game, at least opening right now, is Hellion openings, and Terran gets some really good play from that right off the bat. So this is actually a pretty new game, and as you can tell from the Overlord speed that you can see on the screen, it looks like this is the one with the changes added. So there are some new additions to the game that were actually hotfixed here pretty soon, and one of those changes was the Overlord speed. So they actually got a pretty significant buff in how fast the additional or the single Overlords move. It's like 0.58 and additional decimals after that. Queens also got a range buff as well, and all their attacks are ranged now, which I think is the correct way that they should have done it. So this is a game, it's a platinum level, so we'll see how this goes into it. So it looks like killerKoala is trying to plant down an engineering bay, and it looks like he's going to be successful. And interesting to note, this engineering bay is also even before a barracks. So this is a very kind of a risky thing to do. killerKoala really just wants to make sure that the expansion doesn't go up, and Hyperion doing the correct response, immediately putting down a spawning pool, an evolution chamber. That would be the incorrect thing to do. And killerKoala doing an excellent job of making sure that that is completed by about 95%. So that'll prevent Hyperion from being able to expand right there, but Hyperion doing the smart response actually expanded to the third. We actually go to killerKoala's base, and truth be told, he doesn't have much, but he's trying to put down a command center of his own that's actually going to be blocked. And without any other kind of additional support, we have some drone on SCV violence going on, and that SCV just gets out of there with 5 health. Baller drone actually is able to take that out, but gets taken out on his own. So Koala decides to transition this into getting gas, early gas, plant down his command center and his barracks at the same time. So Hyperion adding some guys onto some gas. And a really interesting open from Koala. This is definitely not a standard or typical opening, and Koala is actually adding a engineering bay in addition to his wall. So this reactor Hellion stuff that I told you about, we're probably not going to see that here. And the cheeky thing that killerKoala did, it got about 95% completed, and by the time that it was able to completely, just before it was able to finish, actually stopped building it. So it takes killerKoala even that much more longer to be able to completely expand. And with the cancel, Koala is actually able to get most of his money back. Now the thing is that with the supply block that Koala is suffering, actually supply block pretty hard right here, in addition to teching, actually adding a factory, it's hard to define what his actual edge is. Hyperion, he's about 10 foot ahead. He's actually, about halfway done on research, still getting gas. Going to the unit counting station. We'll note the production tab in just a moment, but he's slightly ahead in drones, and all you've got is 19 STVs. I think that this supply block may have been designed because, as we can see, there's not another supply depot, and it looks like that we're actually adding a planetary fortress onto the expansion. So planetary, or the engineering bay, is also researching high-sec auto tracking. Guys, this is a high-level ZVT, I promise. Roach Horn being added by Hyperion, and who's also taken about a 15 food lead. He hasn't taken his third base quite yet, so it's interesting to see what Hyperion decides to do here. We also see a Bangling nest, so it looks like we're going to see a Roach Bangling all in off of 2 distant bases, and I kind of interested to see how this blind counter from a planetary fortress is going to work. So Hyperion has an idea. He actually got a scout of it, but I'm not sure if he was able to read that that was actually transferring into a planetary fortress. So after that factory is complete, we see a starport about halfway done. We see some roaches being built on the way. And it's still really kind of hard to see what killerKoala is trying to do. This is really not a standard opening. To the unit counting station, 27 SCVs versus 27 drones. So it looks like Hyperion is going to be doing that all-in that we were talking about. Lots of speedlings on the way, and we have some roach reinforcements coming up behind him. Watchtower control going to Hyperion, so he's definitely got a good idea that nothing's coming. 3 missile turrets being planted down for our Terran player. Kind of in a line to completely phase that portion out. 4th missile turret coming down. He really wants to make sure that those 8.5-minute mutalisks aren't going to be coming anytime soon. Another missile turret. So we see an SCV, or not an SCV, a Zergling, excuse me. Wow, I'm kind of dense right now. I actually walk up into the line of that planetary fortress fire, excuse me, while I open my beer. Right. Actually get built. So going to the unit counting station again. Terran's actually in a lead, which is kind of dangerous, but hold that thought. We see quite a few banelings actually run up, about 9 actually coming in, and that's not enough to be able to do a lot of damage. Actually takes out the bunker. And the Zergling's doing a little bit indecisive. They actually decide to surround the planetary fortress. A little bit of indecision. Actually going to run into the main, but the main's actually walled off by this makeshift wall. The roaches are actually focus firing down the planetary fortress. Some Zerglings are actually dancing and having some issues being able to get around that. Corvid reactor being built by killerKoala. And Hyperion, realizing that his all-in is not going to work, actually pulls away. So to the unit's lost tab, Terran's lost a couple Marines in a bunker and that initial engineering bay at the beginning of the game, while Zerg has lost nearly 2,000 resources, 1,900. And with that Corvid reactor research, which if we look at the research, it's actually increasing the starting energy of Ravens by 25, it looks like Koala is going to be going for a mass Raven type of build. So coming back to Hyperion, he's still doing it on a 2 base. He's actually got another attack set up around the front, but he's deciding to tech up to layer and morphing in an 8 additional banelings with more Zerglings on the way. So if I was Hyperion, I would be extremely frustrated. I mean, this is the type of stuff that you don't really see too much of. So it's really kind of hard to kind of play standard or play typical against these kind of people. Koala with the Viking out, just patting around, make sure there isn't any kind of cheeky Overlord spread, but really the only Fort Overlord is the one that Hyperion has behind killerKoala's base. Hyperion about double his food, and he's not built enough banelings. He only has about 8 going in, and we see those banelings actually getting one shot and attacking a bunker that doesn't have anything in it. We see a lot of lings actually swinging by through here, actually seeing a hole in the wall, and they're actually getting into that makeshift wall that's up there. We have one baller Marine sitting in the corner. Hey, I'm going to take you guys out. These roaches are actually doing some damage against the planetary fortress. The planetary fortress is about down 33% health, but the Zerglings really aren't. There's really lots of micro opportunities here. He's getting stuck on particular things to attack, and he's actually getting completely shut down. We also see Terran building armor being attacked into it as well. So Koala just get enough Marines out to survive, but it looks like once his macro starts kicking in, he's going to start building more Ravens. The Terran building armor actually increases the ability of, or increases the armor of auto turrets, so it's going to make the auto turrets that come out of Koala's Ravens actually that much more strong. So Hyperion with the mono battle type of battle, well, he's going planetary fortress. Let's build a lot of lings. And killerKoala is actually starting to gain ground on Hyperion's food lead. There's only about a 10 food difference right now. Hyperion hasn't built any drones, and this is definitely the what's impacting him negatively. killerKoala is up to 45 SCVs and a very, very small army, but if we will look at the worker supply, Hyperion is getting demolished by Koala. We see these additional starports being completed, and Koala's actually taken a third, which is going to be scattered by Hyperion. And those missile turrets actually going to get a kill and deny any additional scouting. Let's see what kind of information that our Zerg was able to obtain. And actually, other than a tech lab, there's really not any kind of indication of what kind of tech that Koala is going to be going for now. One Zergling actually going to stop the third expansion from killerKoala actually coming out, but we have a Raven coming out and throwing down a missile turret, or a auto turret, excuse me. And that'll make short work of that Raven, or that Zergling. I'm so awful tonight, guys. You know what? I'm excited and I'm drugged up on phetamine. Not methamphetamine, but just phetamine. See some Zerglings running, actually surround this auto turret, which actually is pretty resilient. This command center, only about 33% completed on the planetary fortress, decides to cancel and lift. So Hyperion doing a good job of delaying the expansion even longer. Hyperion having a completely good second base, doesn't take or a completely okay natural, doesn't take it. Actually just utilizing the injections on that second queen. 15 banelings being morphed in, my count is right. But those banelings really aren't going to be doing a whole lot well against these 5 ravens that are just about to pop. So Koala actually having a lot of stuff here. Now the only kind of really upgrade that I'm kind of sad that Koala is missing is the Hunter Seeker missile. That stuff damages Zerglings and banelings hardcore. So Hyperion sent another spawning, or another Zergling in, just to run in and see what he already knew. Nothing too new. And some hesitation from this command center. It looks like Koala wants to get some more Ravens out, but just as I say that, we have durable materials and Seeker Missile being on research, so it's going to make further research the Ravens. 8 more banelings on the way, so Hyperion trying to do a hardcore baneling bust. And at this point, he's pretty all in. You know, the minerals in his main are very close to being mined out. Barely have about 200 minerals on some of the patches. His tech is up to a layer, so there's really not a whole lot of good transition from this. And his money is still pretty low. So even with the 15, or not 15, excuse me, about the 30 food differential, Hyperion's pretty all in with this. If this doesn't work, it's not going to work. And I think that the issue here wasn't necessarily killerKoala's play, because, I mean, Planetary Fortress of the Natural, come on. The important thing is the opportunity here was Hyperion's response to it. So, as we can, before we discuss that, we see the banelings rolling on in and the Planetary Fortress doing some damage to it. The banelings actually connecting with all the Planetary Fortress that's there. The Planetary Fortress has about 280 health, but the SCV surround is nearly perfect, and we see the Ravens actually coming back in to be able to throw down a lot of auto turrets to provide some additional defense. The wall of SCVs has actually gone down. The Planetary Fortress is down to about 100 health. 90. It's slowing down. It's actually coming back up. Some additional Zerglings are actually trailing in. 14 more Zerglings are actually on the way, and the Planetary Fortress is actually very... health is actually climbing extremely fast, and the amount of kills is actually jumping up to 191. Wow. And we see some Ravens, another Raven with about 12 kills, 11 kills, 13 kills. So after that impressive save by killerKoala, saving his Planetary Fortress, able to take a third base and having some Ravens in which that Hyperion does not have a response to, Hyperion decides to make more Zerglings. And killerKoala decides that his macro is boss, so he decides to take an additional 4th base, 5th base, and a 6th base, which killerKoala has a pretty much spot with the Zergling. We see some messed up meals coming down from killerKoala. That's a mistake. So we see some Ravens actually throwing down some defensive auto turrets just to make sure that Hyperion can't do any kind of surrounds, and we see both of these guys actually morphing into Planetary Fortresses. I truthfully wonder how much longer this game is, because I'm kind of scared. Another mule being called down and actually messing up, it looks like. Looks like it wasn't fixed, but we have 2 planetary fortresses moving. And we actually have some additional barracks being plugged in. When have you seen barracks be built just for the sake of having a wall? And we're kind of at a stagnant point in the game, but it looks like killerKoala is going to be on the not offensive, just putting the Ravens over towards this particular base. But it looks like he's swinging around towards the south side of the map, saying that he might work his way up towards the main base of Hyperion. Apparently the magic number in TVZ is 45 SCVs, guys. Just pro tip. But let's see what kind of damage these Ravens can do to a particular base. And Koala just getting comfortable, throwing down some auto turrets, and the drones actually evacuate the base pretty quickly. The Queen going down in a pretty nasty sight. A Hydralisk den actually completed as that was going on, and 5 Hydras are on the way. A Hyperion's now just taking his natural, but or taking his drones that are as natural and putting them down there. We have about 16 auto turrets down, and they're going to make short work of all the stuff that's there. And just as that hatchery pops, Hyperion throws his hands up in the air and says GG.